Do you know why you're here? Do you know what this is about?
I'm not sure yet, but I think we're gonna find out soon.
Today, man's most advanced inventions are being used to study man's most ancient ideas. The science of noetics may be new, but it's actually the oldest science on Earth, the study of human thought. And we're learning that the ancients actually understood thought more profoundly than we do today. Makes sense. The human mind was the only technology the ancients had at their disposal. The early philosophers studied it relentlessly. Yes, the ancient texts are obsessed with the power of the human mind. The Vedas describe the flow of mind energy. The Pistis Sophia describes universal consciousness. The Zohar explores the nature of mind-spirit. The shamanic texts predict Einstein's remote influence in terms of healing at a distance. It's all there. And don't even get me started about the Bible. Your brother tried to convince me that the Bible is encoded with scientific information. It certainly is. And if you don't believe Peter, read some of Newton's esoteric texts on the Bible. When you start to understand the cryptic parables in the Bible, Robert, you realize it's a study of the human mind. I guess I better go back and read it again. When the Bible tells us to go build our temple, a temple that we must build with no tools and making no noise, what temple do you think it's talking about? Well, the text does say your body is a temple. Yes, Corinthians 3:16. You are the temple of God. And the Gospel of John says the exact same thing. Robert, the Scriptures are well aware of the power latent within us, and they are urging us to harness that power, urging us to build the temples of our minds. It's part of the Messianic prophecy. Yes, but that overlooks an important point. The second coming is the coming of man, the moment when mankind finally builds the temple of his mind. I don't know. I'm no Bible scholar, but I'm pretty sure the Scriptures describe in detail a physical temple that needs to be built. The structure is described as being in two parts, an outer temple called the Holy Place and an inner sanctuary called the Holy of Holies. The two parts are separated from each other by a thin veil. Pretty good recall for a Bible skeptic. By the way, have you ever seen an actual human brain? It's built in two parts, an outer part called the dura mater, and the inner part called the pia mater. These two parts are separated by the arachnoid, a veil of web-like tissue. There's a reason they call this your temple. Where the mind is, there is the treasure. Perhaps you've heard about the brain scans taken of yogis while they meditate. The human brain, in advanced states of focus, will physically create a wax-like substance from the pineal gland. This brain secretion is unlike anything else in the body. It has an incredible healing effect, can literally regenerate cells, and may be one of the reasons yogis live so long. This is real science, Robert. This substance has inconceivable properties and can be created only by a mind that is highly tuned to a deeply focused state. I remember reading about that a few years back. Yes, and on that topic, you're familiar with the Bible account of manna from heaven? You mean the magical substance that fell from heaven to nourish the hungry? Exactly. The substance was said to heal the sick, provide everlasting life, and, strangely, cause no waste in those who consumed it. Robert, a kind of nourishment that fell from heaven? She tapped her temple. Magically heals the body, creates no waste. Don't you see? These are code words, Robert. Temple is code for body, heaven is code for mind, Jacob's ladder is your spine, and manna is this rare brain secretion. When you see these code words in Scripture, pay attention. They are often markers for a more profound meaning concealed beneath the surface. According to Matthew 6:22, when your eye is single, your body fills with light. For years I've studied the ancients' claims of man's awesome mental power, and now science is showing us that accessing that power is an actual physical process. Our brains, if used correctly, can call forth powers that are quite literally superhuman. The Bible, like many ancient texts, is a detailed exposition of the most sophisticated machine ever created, the human mind. The ancients already knew many of the scientific truths we're now rediscovering. Within a matter of years, modern man will be forced to accept what is now unthinkable. Our minds can generate energy capable of transforming physical matter. Particles react to our thoughts, which means our thoughts have the power to change the world. God is very real, a mental energy that pervades everything. And we as human beings have been created in that image. Our physical bodies have evolved over the ages, but it was our minds that were created in the image of God. We've been reading the Bible too literally. We learn that God created us in His image, but it's not our physical bodies that resemble God. It's our minds. This is the great gift, Robert, and God is waiting for us to understand it. All around the world we are gazing skyward, waiting for God, never realizing that God is waiting for us. We are creators, and yet we naively play the role of the created. We see ourselves as helpless sheep, buffeted around by the God who made us. We kneel like frightened children, begging for help, for forgiveness, for good luck. But once we realize that we are truly created in the Creator's image, we will start to understand that we too must be creators. When we understand this fact, the doors will burst wide open for human potential. If the Infinite had not desired man to be wise, He would not have bestowed upon him the faculty of knowing. The most amazing part is that as soon as we humans begin to harness our true power, we will have enormous control over our world. We will be able to design reality, rather than merely react to it. If thoughts affect the world, then we must be very careful how we think. Destructive thoughts have influence too, and we all know it's far easier to destroy than it is to create. The great irony is that all the religions of the world, for centuries, have been urging their followers to embrace the concepts of faith and belief. Now science, which for centuries has derided religion as superstition, must admit that its next big frontier is quite literally the science of faith and belief, the power of focused conviction and intention. The same science that eroded our faith in the miraculous is now building a bridge back across the chasm it created. I have a question. Even if I could accept, just for an instant, that I have the power to change physical matter with my mind, and literally manifest all that I desire, I'm afraid I see nothing in my life to make me believe I have such power. Then you're not looking hard enough. If I hand you a violin and say you have the capability to use it to make incredible music, I'm not lying. You do have the capability, but you'll need enormous amounts of practice to manifest it. This is no different from learning to use your mind, Robert. Well-directed thought is a learned skill. To manifest an intention requires laser-like focus, full sensory visualization, and a profound belief. We have proven this in a lab. And just like playing a violin, there are people who exhibit greater natural ability than others. Look to history. Look to the stories of those enlightened minds who performed miraculous feats. Please don't tell me you actually believe in the miracles. I mean seriously, turning water into wine, healing the sick with the touch of a hand? I have witnessed people transform cancer cells into healthy cells simply by thinking about them. I have witnessed human minds affecting the physical world in myriad ways. And once you see that happen, Robert, once this becomes part of your reality, then some of the miracles you read about become simply a matter of degree. Think of it simply as changing your perspective, accepting that the world is not precisely as you imagine. Historically, every major scientific breakthrough began with a simple idea that threatened to overturn all of our beliefs. The simple statement, "the earth is round," was mocked as utterly impossible because most people believed the oceans would flow off the planet. Heliocentricity was called heresy. Small minds have always lashed out at what they don't understand. There are those who create and those who tear down. That dynamic has existed for all time. But eventually the creators find believers, and the number of believers reaches a critical mass, and suddenly the world becomes round. or the solar system becomes heliocentric. Perception is transformed, and a new reality is born. There's something important I want to tell you, Robert. There's another piece to all this, a piece that I believe is the single most astonishing aspect of my research. And I promise, if we as humans can honestly grasp this one simple truth, the world will change overnight. We have scientifically proven that the power of human thought grows exponentially with the number of minds that share that thought. What I'm saying is this: two heads are better than one, and yet two heads are not twice better. They are many, many times better. Multiple minds working in unison magnify a thought's effect exponentially. This is the inherent power of prayer groups, healing circles, singing in unison, and worshiping en masse. The idea of universal consciousness is no ethereal New Age concept. It's a hardcore scientific reality, and harnessing it has the potential to transform our world. This is the underlying discovery of noetic science. What's more, it's happening right now. You can feel it all around you. Technology is linking us in ways we never imagined possible. Twitter, Google, Wikipedia, and others all blend to create a web of interconnected minds.